on the book of face. Yeah, I know where to go. There's a man over there into the music scene, showing lots of love for the community. With great advice, I know who I should go see. So around town radio show.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is lunchtime here on a Wednesday with the band. I'm Scott Hall, your host, and we are here in the Hall Around Town radio studios to bring you somebody I got to see back opening for Kip Winger, man, at the Bell and the Bear, and he killed it, absolutely slayed it. And I am so happy to have him on the show. Help me welcome Mr. Charlie Bonnet to the show, everybody. Let's bring him on in right about now.
All right.
What's going on, buddy?
Rock and rollers? What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to see you again. You're in Tennessee right now, right?
I'm in Tennessee. It's similar to Ohio, and it's freezing. Past couple of days been cold, man.
Oh, man. Winter has struck. I think we went straight to winter. It is cold out there. And there's Jamie Minnick. How you doing, Jamie? Thanks for joining the party today, live here at noon. We'll be talking to Charlie about his career and some upcoming shows and things he's got going on. But I want to remind you, if you're watching the show after we're live, you can still make comments. Charlie will share this on his page. We'll share it on ours, and we'll answer your comments. So don't feel bad if you're not up here at the noon hour doing this with us, because I think I just got Charlie out of bed too, man. I mean, he had a rough night last night playing him all over the place. Hi, Holly. Thanks for being with us too.
Right.
We got all kinds of beautiful ladies on here today, including your Holly there. All right,
That's
Charlie,
my beautiful wife, Holly.
let's hit it up, my friend. Let's talk about the start. When did you start playing music?
Well, I got the rock and roll bug May 24th of 1989, dude. My first rock concert. I was 13 years old. I saw Cinderella with Winger and the Bullet Boys. And my dad wanted nothing to do with this show. I loved all the rock and roll music that was coming out from like 85 to 88 at the time, 89. And like, I couldn't get enough of it, man. And I told my dad, I want to go to this show. I love the Long Cold Winter album. And I just really wanted to go. So he said, I'll tell you what, if you can come up with the money to buy the entire family tickets to this show, I'll take you. So I started cutting. Yeah. I started cutting the neighbor's grass. I started getting rid of toys I didn't want. I was picking up aluminum cans, and I came up with enough to get grass seats at the amphitheater way in the nosebleeds, but we all went. And of course I prepped. I bought the Bullet Boys tape and the Winger tape, and I had the Cinderella tapes, and I knew every song, and I went there and I just absorbed this show, man. And we left that show, and on the ride back, I told my mom, I know I told you I wanted a stereo for my birthday, but can we get an electric guitar instead? And she said, well, if you can wait till Christmas, we'll get you an electric guitar. So I started on an acoustic. I couldn't wait. A buddy of mine had a little beater acoustic. I started like kind of learning some chords like the next day. And then when Christmas rolled around, I had a little Sears and Roebuck out of the catalog, $100 beater electric, and hop in the time machine, and here I am 35 years later, still rocking, hanging out with Scott.
Still rocking, and you are rocking, my friend. And what I saw, I mean, how cool is it that your first concert that really gave you the bug, you get to open for Kip Winger? I mean, that's amazing, you know?
Man, I'm just blessed, dude. I have a wife who is very, very good at selling me, and she reached out to Bell. Yeah, told me to the Bell and the Bear and said, "Hey, it's our anniversary, and I'm buying Charlie tickets to this anyway. But any chance he could play this show?" And I got to do it, man. So it was a blessing, and it was a lot of fun.
And hats off to Karis for taking a chance on you on that show too. I mean, unknown basically to her, and she brings you in, and you wowed everybody. Everybody loved you that night and wanted more. I mean, it was a shame there wasn't more time to get you in there. And you have quite a traveling road show. I mean, you've got merch, you've got all kinds of stuff. You're out there doing it. And it's cool to me to see how humble you are. When I met you that night, you couldn't have been any nicer. And you stand on stage with rock star status, but when you're off the stage, man, you're just another guy in the audience having fun. And I love that part about you.
Thank you, man. Anybody that you ever see on a stage, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. And I mean, it's 2023, finna be 2024. There's no mystique. We're all people, and there's just no excuse to be an asshole. That's just the bottom line.
I love it. So if you were to describe, for the people watching today that may have never seen you play, if you were to describe your style of music, what would you call it?
I would say if you took Leonard Skinner and had AC/DC as the backing band, and you added a little Black Crowes in there and a little bit of Aerosmith and put it in a blender, you'd get what I do. It's roots rock, but my favorite music is definitely 80s era hard rock. But I got a 1-octave voice, so there's no hitting any super high notes. I work with what I got, and I don't know, if you took Leonard Skinner and made it meaner, that's what my sound is. And then when I do it on acoustic, I try to tell a few jokes and keep it light and fun. And just my acoustic show is kind of like Steve Earle meets Skinner. I'm not born in Tennessee, but I moved here when I was 6 years old, and I just got that super thick Southern drawl of a accent, and there's no fighting it, so I just use it. So it's Skinner meets AC/DC. That's the short answer.
Gotcha. Well, that's a good description, I'd say. And guys, if you're watching today, if you have a question for Charlie, throw it in the comments. We'll be glad to answer them for you. Charlie, I want to ask this. So you say 80s, and you just described that as the harder rock, or how did you say that? Because so many people call it, the hairband era, and I hate that term and all that. But what do you call the late 80s, that heavier rock music that wasn't the pop dance floor stuff? What is it? What's your term?
I always called it heavy metal as a kid. I felt it was heavy metal, just generalized. I mean, hard rock, hair bands, like, as long as people are listening to it, it's one of those things where, like, I loved all these shredders when I was a kid, man. Like, I thought, Nuno was awesome, and Reb Beach was awesome, Vito Bratta and George Lynch. I couldn't play like that. Like, I'm nowhere near that. Like, so I had to kind of like revamp my influences and go more for an Angus Young and more for a Joe Perry to be my heroes. You know what I mean?
I got
you. But I love that whole spectrum of music. Like, if it's loud amps in the face, sign me up.
There you go. Well, you're doing an acoustic gig. You're out and about doing that, but you also have a band, correct?
I do. Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the band for just a minute.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
Well, I got a 3-man power trio. It's like our heroes are ZZ Top and the 3-man version of Motorhead. We're kind of a cross between that. It's called Charlie Bonnet III and the Gas Holes.
All right. And, you know what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, I mean that with all love and respect to my guys. Well, I was in a 4-piece band probably about 2015 and 2016, and I was doing an acoustic show, to pay the bills, and then I'd play with the band on the weekends, and my band quit, and I had to like revamp like with about 3 days notice. So my original thought was I was going to just add bass and drums to my acoustic show. And since it was kind of like folk music, I thought it'd be funny to call the band the Folkin' Gas Holes, because we would be Charlie Bonnet and the Folkin' Gas Holes, right? Because I drink out of a gas can, and I'll reveal all the reasons of that in a minute. But I couldn't get booked. We did get booked at like Rocklahoma and some stuff like that, some pretty decent shows, but people like, oh, that name's vulgar. We don't want to put that on the marquee. So we just stripped it down to Charlie Bonnet III and the Gas Holes. And and that's because every band name has been taken. I figured I'm going to go the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers route and just add the suffix to my God-given name, and we're going to roll with it. And the guys don't mind being called gas holes, so it's stuck.
All right. So the gas can. Let's go there real quick before I get into the rest of this. Why, when I saw you on stage at the Bell, you picked up this gas can and drank out of it, and I was like, okay, that's something I've never seen before on stage. So why that? Why'd you choose that?
Well, when I was a kid here in the South, my mom had a rule in the summertime. If it's not raining, your butt is outside. You're not to hang out inside. You're outside all day long, and you come in at dinner. She don't want you in the way. She's trying to clean the house. She don't want your music. If the sun is shining or if it's not raining, your butt is outside. So I needed a canteen. I'm playing out in the woods. You can't just take a bottle of water. This is before a bottle of water existed, because I'm old. So, a standard canteen ain't going to cut it when you're hiking through the woods all day. So I went to a Kmart and got me a gas can and would fill it up with water and drag it around with me all day long when I'd make my forts out in the woods or whatnot. And when I started playing rock and roll, I saw a band one time. I was on tour. I was a kid, and they were all drinking out of like milk jugs and stuff like that. And that was pretty funny. So I thought, you know what? I've carried a gas can around literally since Cub Scouts. I'm going to start drinking out of this because people are going to wonder what is in it. They're going to think I'm drinking liquor. They're going to think it's beer. They don't know. And depending on what the day is, it could be sweet tea. You never know what's in there. So it just became a trademark. It got people asking questions.
That is absolutely outstanding, and it's a great trademark, man. And I mean, you've got a gas pump for a mic stand, I think now, right? So yeah, you've branded that pretty damn well, I think, and it does get attention. People look at it and they're like, "What the heck?" And that is, Jamie says, great story. Thank you, Jamie, for that. It is a great story.
Thank you, Jamie.
Charlie, do you remember the first tune you ever learned to play? The first song that you played that you could actually recognize?
Yeah, I think. So the way this went down, I had a neighbor kid that had an old PV electric guitar, and he couldn't make any noise with it, and I couldn't do anything with it really, but we would sit out on his mom's porch, and he had a little tiny 12-inch amplifier starter amp, and we would just make racket at full volume, and the neighbors would be screaming, "Shut up!" And I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting a reaction out of the neighborhood, right? So his older cousin taught me a few songs. And the first song I ever learned how to make the recognizable riff, you're gonna think I'm lying. It was Poison, Talk Dirty to Me, the opening riff. That's the first riff I ever learned on an electric guitar.
And that's not easy. That one's, I mean, I wouldn't call it that easy.
I couldn't quite get the da-da-da-da-da-da-da because I wasn't coordinated, but you could kind of tell what it was. And so then I was like, man, this is awesome. So my mom took me to the grocery store, and I got a guitar magazine there off the rack and bought it. And it had Metallica Jump in the Fire, which has this little blues lick. It's like a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I started learning that. That might have been like my second little riff that I learned. But the very first recognizable riff was a botched version of Talk Dirty to Me.
Outstanding. Well, you mentioned, and we mentioned earlier, you opening for Kip Winger and seeing him as one of your first concerts. But I've noticed by following you since then, you get to open for some pretty good people. You've been on stage with some great people. Mention some of them here, if you will, so people can recognize a little bit.
Okay, well, this year, the Kip show was the first national that I got to do this year. And then a couple months later, we were in Michigan, me and Holly. I did an acoustic show opening for John Corabi, who's a big hero of mine. And then the band opened for Faster Pussycat in Columbus. And the band is opening for Lynch Mob in Columbus at the end of the year. So that's just this year, you know. So anytime we can get on a stage, you know, it's a blessing to be on a stage, and it's even more fun when you get to share a stage with one of your heroes, you know, that made you want to do it.
And you know, the decade and the genre that you're into, and opening for some of these guys that were your heroes, like you said, are amazing. But I've learned that most of those people that I've done shows with or been involved with, they're all pretty humble people. They've lost that rock star status from way back. Right. And you know, John Corabi hanging out at the Bell and the Bear, he was there, and he was just, I mean, when I got there, I saw him and I said, "Is that John Corabi?" He's out walking around the parking lot looking at cars in the parking lot. There was a car show going on, and then he just mingled with everybody. You know, there wasn't any "I'm going to sit on my bus till I play" stuff and all that. Kip Winger the same way. They all seem pretty humble guys now and appreciate their fans, you know.
About 15 years ago, they all started moving here to Nashville. I'm in Middle Tennessee right this second. I come here to my old house a couple times a month and visit the recording studio, but I live in Ohio. But about 15 years ago, it looked like a Metal Edge magazine came to life in Nashville. Everybody moved to Nashville, and you would see them all around. Like, you'd be at the Mexican restaurant, and there's Billy Sheehan, you know, munching on a fajita right next to you. I saw Tom Kiefer at a Kroger's buying bread. It was all I could do to not run up to him in the milk aisle and go, "Dude, you were my first show." You know what I mean? But I'm a grown ass man. I got to hold it together, right? But I jumped back to like 13 in my brain. I'm like, that dude right there changed my life. And he's like buying milk right where I'm going to buy my gallon of milk.
That's crazy.
You know,
it is.
There was one day I was out, the sun came out. It's probably about, I don't know, 20 years ago. The sun came out. It was just breaking from winter to spring. And I thought, man, I'm going to go out yard sailing, right? So I'm just driving around, going door to door to yard sales. And I see this sign that says indoor yard sale. I go knock on the door, and Mark Slaughter answered the door. He had about half a beard going, hadn't shaved or nothing. I looked at him and he looked at me and he went, "Yeah, it's me." And I went in and I didn't buy nothing. I just hung out and talked rock and roll with him on his couch for like 2 hours. He bought me lunch. He went and got some hamburgers and brought them back. I'm like hanging out, talking rock and roll in his living room in Franklin, Tennessee for like 2 hours, man. And it blew my mind. I was like, little 13-year-old me was very pleased with that day.
So you really seem, when you're up on stage, you seem into the crowd, you seem into the response you get. What's one of your favorite cover tunes to play to the audience?
Well, I usually read the room because it depends on what kind of show I'm doing. I do a lot of, I don't know if it's singer-songwriter stuff when I'm doing it in Ohio. I sing to the back of a lot of people's heads, I would say that. When they're watching their Ohio State game and they're pissed that I'm on the stage making too much racket. So you never know. I never work off a set list per se. It's all kind of spontaneous. But my favorite thing to do is to take these old hard rock, I say old, 80s era bands that I love, and turn it into like a blues song and see if they recognize the lyrics. Or I'll play a Metallica song, but I'll do it like George Strait style and see if somebody drunk at the bar will be like, "Is he singing what I think he's singing?" And I'll turn around and figure out that I'm playing Metallica 1, but I'm doing it bluegrass or something like that. It's just to stump the crowd to see if they're paying attention.
Well, and I think people do pay attention to you when you're up there. And I agree. Some bars, they tend to book acts when there's something big going on, and they try to be a sports bar and a music bar. It doesn't always work, but you command attention. When you walked on stage that first time I saw you, and not pumping my tires, I see a lot of people play, and you commanded from the first note, man, you commanded the crowd. You had everybody watching you. And did that take a long time to develop for you over the years? I mean, because you're a pro, you get up there, you play your songs, you interact, and boom, the crowd's sold on you. How long did it take you to build that?
Well, that's a very good question. I'll give you the abbreviated story best I can. In real life, when the cowboy hat is off, I'm actually an introvert. I'm not that commanding guy. It's like when the cowboy hat comes on, it's like Clark Kent turning into Superman. It's really weird. I was a very nervous kid, picked on a lot, just little skinny kid growing up, and rock and roll, man. I could come home and turn on rock and roll, and next thing you know, I'm ready to fight the whole room, man. It's just like an adrenaline would come over me. So my first, not my first band, but first professional band per se that made records, we were called Disarray. We had 6 records out on a label called Eclipse Records. And we would go out on the road with bands like Guar and Overkill and Biohazard and like a way more aggressive audience. And this is when I was 21 to, or actually 18 to about 25 years old. And so you would learn real quick. There's no getting up there going, "Hey guys, I'm Charlie. Hey, good to see you." No, you get up there and go, "How y'all doing out there in Ohio? Who's ready to rock and roll? Let's go." You know what I mean? It was a self-defense preservation of you're going to get slaughtered out here if you don't just, let it rock, man. And so that that attitude and aggression has translated into what I do now.
I got you. Well, you do a great job. And Dewey's got a great comment there. He says after he first saw you earlier this year, he went to YouTube and pulled up every cover you had posted, and he said that loves your take on 80s rock. So that's cool. Thank you. And Jamie, thank you for being my producer today and dropping the link into CB3 Music on YouTube. So that's cool. Jamie's a great promoter. And, Jamie's partly responsible for this show today being on. She reached out to you guys, and I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while, Charlie, ever since I saw you the first time. We talked about it that night, actually. Sure. And glad you could be with us from Tennessee today. So you've been involved with a lot of bands. You've played a lot of music. You've seen, I'm sure, being on tour and all the things, you've seen a lot out there on the road. Do you have any memorable, anything that's a great memory, though, from your career so far that just stands out that was like that moment in time?
Man, there's a few of them. Excuse me, I sang last night and I just woke up. So if I'm all like hacky hackwells, it's because I left half my lung on the microphone at a studio last night. I tracked 2 new songs. But honestly, life got a whole lot more exciting for me when the internet era hit because I could participate too. When I was a kid, we were chasing record deals and we were traveling all over America and doing showcases and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't as fun back then because, man, we were like, got to have a record deal by the time we're 25 or we're not going to make it. We were so stressed out as young people trying to make it. But then the internet hits and levels it out. And my point in that, probably the coolest thing I ever could remember was, or there's a lot of cool things, but one of my most favorite things, I got to do a record with Tracy Guns from LA Guns. He was one of my guitar heroes as a kid. I had the VHS tape of the One More Reason home video. And I remember seeing him get hit by the car in the video, and he's with the windshield wipers with the blood, and he's banging his guitar. And I'm like, that's my dude right there. And you fast forward like 30 years, and I ran into him in Memphis, Tennessee, and we had actually done some work together in the past through like this tribute album company in Tennessee, and he was familiar with me, but I'd never met him. And I went and saw his solo band before he rejoined LA Guns in Memphis. There was about 10 people there, including me. It was like a Tuesday night, and I got just shooting the breeze with him, and he said, Charlie, if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know. I said, funny you would ask that. You want to do a record? I got some songs. Mix it and fix it, maybe co-produce it, play on it if you want. And he said, yeah, but the only catch to that is you're going to read it soon. I'm rejoining LA Guns for a reunion tour in a couple months. So we got about a 6-week window to do this. I was like, oh. So I went home. I could only get 6 songs together with my band. We jumped in a studio on Music Row in Nashville about 2 weeks later to do bed tracks, and emailed all that stuff over to Tracy, and he did his magic. But that was one of my first experiences of doing a Charlie Bonnet like branded project with one of my rock heroes, and that was awesome, man.
Well, that is outstanding too, and I think you've lived a pretty roller coaster of a life, from what I understand, with all the music, and if that's a good term for it, all the music you've been involved with and all the places you've been.
Right.
You do record your own music though, so
Correct.
Let's talk about that real quick while we got a minute or two left here. Let's talk about your own music, your original stuff.
Yeah, I've got like 300 recorded original songs. Basically, I'm a satellite for ideas. Like, I don't write it, it comes out of the universe, man. And you never know. There's been some instances where in public, you know, I'll be in Kroger's and there'll be a wheel squeaking on the cart going, I'm like, whoa, there's a groove. And then I'll grab my phone, I'm singing some little melody in my phone in public, and people are looking at me like I'm some crackhead in the store. You never know. Or the windshield wipers making a squeak, and you're like, oh, dude, that's a groove. And you hum something in your phone, and then you get home and you figure it out, you know. And it's just happened hundreds of times. So an idea hits me and I write it, whether it's a hit song or a throwaway or filler or whatever. If it hits me, I write it, man. So I've been fortunate to have a studio friend here in Tennessee named Dave Summers. And he took a interest in me and basically lets me come down there whenever I want and make all the racket I want for very cheap. And we just produce records, and for whatever that is in the current era, you put them on all the streaming sites and throw it up and see if people like it, man.
So how can the people watching today find your original music out there on the streaming sites? You on all of them? You on?
I'm on all of them. Just type me in, Charlie with the IE, Bonnet with 1 T and the Roman numeral 3. I pop up everywhere, man. So I've got band records as well as acoustic records. And there's a lot of different styles to it. You know, it's like I've got like a demo series. I had this thing I was doing called the Living Room Sessions. And my idea was the very second that an idea hits me, I want to record it and put it out before I play it for a year. That way the original just seed is documented. And people hear that stuff online and they're like, man, like your voice don't sound the same and these lyrics have changed and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but that's what I was wanting to do. And then I got like more produced acoustic records, and then I've got band records on there too, and tons of singles, and just there's a big old rabbit hole to dive down.
Gotcha. Well, and they can find you on social media, and I think Holly does a lot of your social media work, and man, she kills it with the promos on there. You can find him on Facebook at Charlie Bonnet 3, or the Roman numeral 3 there. It's up on the screen right now. And he likes to go by CB3. I'm wearing one of his shirts today, right here. Actually, some of his merchandise. But
yeah, my mama nicknamed me CB3. She got it from C-3PO off of Star Wars.
Wow. Funny little stories that pop into all those things, don't they?
Yeah.
How about your show coming up this Friday? You're going to be up in the Dayton, Ohio area. You're going to be in Franklin, Ohio. JD Legends. Let's talk about that.
JD Legends, man. It ain't JD Hobbyists. It's JD Legends up in here. We're going to bring 2 hours of rock and roll, me on acoustic guitar, I'm not on the bar stool. I'm standing up rocking like I was at the Bell and the Bear. Every other song will be one of mine, and every other song will be a cover that'll probably be 80s rock. They like 80s rock there. They bring a lot of my favorite bands to that bar. I'm hoping to get the Gas Holes in there. This is kind of like my audition breaking into JD Legends. So I'm hoping all my friends will show up and rock out and have a good time, and we'll make jokes from the stage and just have a big old party this Friday night, 6:30. Hope to see everybody come out, man.
All right, I got one more question before we have to go today. This is one I ask everybody I interview, from the big guys on the tours and just to you here locally as well. Let's talk about this for a minute. If you could take the stage with one person, past or present, and play with that person on stage, who would it be?
Well, based on this cowboy hat and based on this look I got going, I'm gonna have to say it had to be Ronnie Van Zant. Yeah,
never had that one come up. Never in the history.
Don't put me on the plane. Don't put me on the plane. Put me on the stage with him.
Absolutely. So Ronnie Van Zant is your choice.
Correct.
Unfortunately, we lost him way too soon because who knows where he would have gone with his career as well.
I think that's one of the most gifted lyricists that ever walked this earth.
I agree 100%. Yes, sir.
And in full disclosure, anytime any of the Skynyrd songs that are beat to death come on the radio, I change the channel. I never need to hear Freebird again. I never need to hear Sweet Home Alabama again. I don't need to hear none of that. I need the deep cuts, man. Some of these deep cuts are just solid gold, and he's a songwriter, man.
The mark of a true musician right there. Yeah, the glam stuff and the pop stuff that made the big hits, you don't always turn into when you get older. You turn into listening to those deep tracks and playing some great music and listen to the lyrics, which, lyrics are so important. I think you posted something not too long ago about music lyrics as well, and it's just it raises you up, man. You can listen to the music and see those and hear those lyrics, and it raises you up every day. And every time I see you, man, you're just doing it. The videos I watch, I love the show at the chat at the Bell and the Bear, and can't wait to see you again, buddy.
Man, I hope to see you. I hope to see you this Friday at JD Legends. And if I don't, I'm going to come hunt y'all down and hang out anyway. I'm overdue to drop into the Bell and the Bear. It ain't that I've been avoiding it. I've been busy all summer playing every single weekend, and I owe y'all a big old hangout. And I love my Ohio friends and family, and I'll be running into y'all soon. I hope y'all all have a great day and keep rocking and be happy. The world needs more positive energy in it. I need all y'all to just find what makes you happy. If it's rock and roll, and crank it up and just have a good day out there.
And thank you, Jamie, for that. Thank you, Dewey, for that. We appreciate it. And Charlie, thank you so much for being with me today here at All Around Town Radio.
It's an honor to be here, Scott. Thank you, my man.
We're going to leave it at his last thoughts. He said it best right there, folks. Check him out Friday night, JD Legends, 6:30 start time in Franklin, Ohio. And we'll be with you tomorrow, bringing you the best in local live music and who's playing out on our segment, brought to you by Froggies in Monroe and the best musicians and bands in the tri-state and where they're playing, guys. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you next time right here at All Around Town.